How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be diving into Night City and talking about a game I've recently fallen in love with in Cyberpunk 2077. But first, please consider giving the video a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps out massively. Now, let's get into it. Cyberpunk is a game that since its announcement in 2012, I've been keeping an eye on as it looked amazing. Then, the release date finally came in 2020, and a large majority of the players who got their hands on the game were let down. The game ran badly, was full of bugs, and was just all around borderline unplayable. It was clear the game was released too early, and from a company that brought us such a phenomenal game as The Witcher 3, many people were shocked with the state Cyberpunk was released in. At the time, I only had a console, so for me, after seeing all the reviews, it was clear this wasn't a game I'd get to experience, unless I wanted to have a really poor time with the game. So I wrote the game off and put it in my rearview mirror. But eventually, I ended up getting a good PC, and slowly but surely, I began hearing good things about what they were doing with Cyberpunk, that the game was actually becoming very good. I ended up putting the game on my Steam wishlist, and then, on May 22nd, 2024, the game went on sale, and I decided it was finally time I give it a go, and boy am I glad I did. You're thrown into the game with a very in-depth character creator, which allows you to make pretty much any kind of character your heart desires, and your choices here will even affect your gameplay later on. By choosing to be from a certain faction, will give you unique dialogue options, or choosing to be male or female will limit which characters you're able to romance in your playthrough. And when I say there's a lot of customization options, I mean it. You can even change which genitalia you want your character to have, and how it looks. It goes deep with the options. You then start off on your journey in a kind of tutorial section, where you're introduced to your lovable sidekick, Jackie Wells, and Night City. I won't include any spoilers in this video, as this game is phenomenal, and I hope that if you've yet to give it a go, maybe this video will convince you to, and I want you to get the full experience out of it. But right from the off, your choices are already altering your experience. Based on the background you chose for your character, your starting experience will be different. Whether coming into the city for the first time from the sandy Badlands as a nomad, or starting as a corpo and riding around the city with your corporate car. No two playthroughs of this game will ever be identical. The visuals and the world as you're being introduced to the game are really sensational, and that feeling of being in a real, living, futuristic utopia stays with you throughout the whole journey. You may get a bit overwhelmed starting off, as there's a lot of features in the game, and it takes a while for them to be taught to you. But once you get the hang of it, it feels smooth, and you don't have to do the features you don't enjoy doing. Like for example, I found the hacking to kind of slow down my gameplay, so I built my character around a running gun speedy build, where I wouldn't care about hacking and stealth, and instead just run in and go wild until all the enemies were eliminated. Granted, some characters in the game won't always approve of you doing things this way. I found it the most fun, and it won't really break any relationships with any characters. Some people may love the slower, hacking and stealth gameplay, and you can for sure build really effective character builds around this. It's just whatever your preferences are. The gameplay is just so vast, and full of options, you just gotta cater it to what you like. At the start, before I had any perks, cyberware or high tier weapons, it still felt good, and the gunplay was solid, but it didn't feel very different from any other shooter I had tried before. Eventually though, I got perks and cyberware that would make me move faster, be able to double jump and spring forward, slow down time, slide around, and it all just meshed so well together, almost giving me Warframe vibes, as I would shoot around the battlefield, switching between my assault rifle and katana, taking out all of my enemies. Adding on top of that, some high tiered weapons with the right mods, it made my character feel unstoppable. This is something I really want to play around with more, as I go back and do a couple more different playthroughs of the game, utilizing all of the different playstyles and builds. That's another thing that makes Cyberpunk so great, is the replayability. Sure, you can stay on one character the whole time, and adjust your builds to get the different gameplay experiences that way, but you can also make extra characters, and replay the game making different decisions, and have the game unfold in a whole different way than it did the first time through. This is especially evident in the final mission, where you're given multiple options on how to proceed, including secret options, only unlocked by making certain decisions in your playthrough. If you go down the rabbit hole of all the possibilities you can make, and how they affect other moments, it's truly outstanding how much there is in this game, and it just makes you want to go back and make multiple characters to experience what could have been. But you wouldn't go back and replay the game unless it was good, right? But lucky for you, Cyberpunk is amazing at pretty much every aspect. Not even just for the gameplay and how much freedom you're given, or the many possible game-changing decisions you make throughout a playthrough, like mentioned before, but for the story and the characters you meet along the way. I am mostly an MMO player, so I'm no stranger to skipping all dialogue after a story loses my interest. Even in some really great RPGs, I'll stick to the main missions, which I would really enjoy, but lost interest whenever it came to doing side quests. But with Cyberpunk, not only were the main missions phenomenal, but the side quests were just as good, maybe some even better than the main mission itself. And the characters you'd meet along the way felt real and were so well developed. I don't think I've ever played a game before where there'd be a dialogue option given to me, and I know if I select this response, the mission progresses, or if I choose the other option, it doesn't progress, but I get to learn more about the characters involved, and I'd select the option to learn more about the characters. But in Cyberpunk, I actually did. For for pretty much every character I met in the game, I was finding myself asking them random questions to learn more before progressing the mission, and that's not something I've ever done before in a game. It's really a testament to how great they created these characters, that they felt real, and I wanted to know more about them. I even found myself on YouTube watching 20-minute videos about random side characters that people would theorycraft about what their true motives were, or what happened to them after you leave them. The world was just so enthralling that I couldn't get enough of it. From characters with deep backstories and relatable flaws like Pan and Palmer, to quirky little side characters like a vending machine just looking for someone to talk to.
Hey there, stranger! I'm Brendan, your friendly neighborhood SCSM.
There's just so much in the world that made me keep coming back for more. And speaking of Pan and Palmer, there's a really in-depth romance system in the game, for those of you out there that are into that. Based on what gender you choose, there's various options of characters in the game you could choose to romance, for people of all preferences. And if you play your cards right, you could end up in a relationship with that person. Not only will this add small things to your gameplay, like random texts from them checking up on you, or asking to come over to your place where you can have a date night, but it unlocks additional final mission options that will completely change the way the game ends for you, based on who you romanced. Now, to each their own, but if you ask me, Pan and Palmer is by far the best option to go with if you want to go down the romance rabbit hole. And Reddit seems to agree with me. Night City itself even feels like a living character on its own, with all the crazy visuals you'll come across, from the hilarious advertisement boards to unique locations filled with strange characters doing insane things. Or, if you need a break from the craziness of the city, you could head out to the Badlands and hang out with the Nomads, which has a completely different feel and makes it feel like you've been transported into another game entirely. It's mostly desert and long roads, great for taking your rides out for a spin, while seeing Night City long off in the distance. Another great thing about Cyberpunk is the mission diversity. I won't give any spoilers, but you'll be going on so many different kinds of missions that you didn't see coming from the game. Like for example, there'll be an underwater mission that's a bit slower, but is a really deep character building mission. Or you'll go on a mission to help fix an auto taxi company that's been malfunctioning and wreaking havoc across Night City. Or you'll help a political party to stay safe during an election filled with murder and mental warfare. There's just so many great, thoughtful missions that by the end of the mission chain, it'll have you sitting back and going, wow. They're deep and complex and really get you thinking about the motives behind the characters' actions and what's to come for us as we as a society get closer to some of the things that are going on in Night City. Plus, some of these missions also add cool features to the game that you might not have thought were in it, like racing. One side quest will take you down a racing story, having you participate in multiple death races, in which you'll be flying along like in Mad Max, trying to take out all of your opponents and get to the finish line first to try to become champion. The racing is a ton of fun in itself, but to make things even better, you're throwing a really cool backstory as to why you're doing it, and you have to make really hard decisions along the way that'll test your ethical fortitude. Or, my favorite of the bunch, is a side mission that takes you down a bunch of quests to become a fighting champion. You go around the city, taking on multiple opponents in a one-on-one, hand-to-hand fight for great prizes and prestige, on your way to becoming champion. Of course, if you spruce up your cyberware to crazy levels, these matches can get a bit easy, but if you go in underprepared, these can be really tricky. Not only are there some really funny, unique characters you'll have to take out, but there are some really cool prizes as well, like a golden car that you can choose to keep or give back to the guy you beat, because losing the car will put strain on his marriage. The game really puts you in some pretty unique situations that'll have you questioning what to do. There's just so much character oozing out of every aspect of this game. It's hard to put the experience into words, and this is all only from 50 hours of gameplay so far, and one playthrough. I'm still on my first character, with the main story finished, but I plan on going back and checking all of the possible ending options. In the meantime, I'm running around doing NCPD missions, just enjoying the gameplay, and then working on finishing all of the side missions when I want more story-heavy content. I'm also not done fully maxing my build yet, or purchasing all of the apartments and cars, but I'm working towards that as well. And then, there's the big one, the Phantom Liberty DLC, that I haven't even gotten around to yet, and I hear that is amazing. So, I still pretty much have at least another 100 hours of fun out of the game, and to get all of that for only $30, I am beyond satisfied. Plus, I still want to go back and rerun the story, knowing what I know now, and make different choices to see what could have been, and save some characters I didn't know I could have saved during my first playthrough. I've even added the anime Cyberpunk Edgerunners built around the world to my watch list, and plan on getting to that as soon as possible as well, as I've heard great things about it, and I'm not even that big of an anime fan, so that's saying something. I've just loved every moment I've had with this game so far, and look forward to so much more as I continue to play. I should warn anyone thinking about getting into Cyberpunk though. Cutscenes can sometimes get kind of long. I think there were some parts of the game where I wasn't controlling my character for over 10 minutes, which might be a bit much for people into action-heavy games, but you can always fast forward through the cutscenes. Even the longer scenes though, I found myself enjoying because I was so enthralled with the story, but I could see it not being for everyone. Overall though, I can't recommend this game enough. It was a rough launch, but they got there in the end. They've recently announced that there will be no more development on the game, which although I feel like it's in a pretty great spot and highly worth getting, it is still sad because there's always more that can be added to a game to keep making the experience even better, like flying cars, another DLC, or even more customization. But maybe it just means they're now working on the next Cyberpunk, and if that's the case, I can't wait to see what they come up with. I just hope they don't release it until it's actually ready to go this time around. What do you think? Did you play Cyberpunk, and was your experience as great as mine? Or did you play at launch, got turned off by the state of the game, and never go back? If that's the case, I highly recommend giving it another go now. And anyone who's yet to try it, this is a must-play game. It's a modern masterpiece, and one of the best games I've ever played. But if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, and subscribe to the channel. It helps out massively. But until next time, have a good one. Thanks for watching another video. If you'd like to see me check out Guild Wars 2, click on the video to the left. Or, if you'd like to see me check out Once Human, click on the video to the right. And a massive shout out to all the channel members and patrons seen on screen now who help support the channel. Links on how to become a member in the video description below.